Hey everyone, and welcome to KDLounge, the best source for everything Kadena. Today we have two guests, Joerg and Gareth. They are co-founders of Timpi. Timpi is a decentralized search engine where users can run specific search engine functions, such as crawling, indexing, and optimization. The software can be run on any low-end PC, which makes it much more cost-effective than current competitors. But first, some news on KDLounge. We are right now hosting the first ever IDO on Kadena for today's guests, Timpi. KYC and registration is currently open on the website, so head on over and do it if you haven't already. By the time this episode airs, we will already have released some Medium articles, so head on there and check them if you are interested. Okay guys, without further ado, let's learn a bit more about Timpi with Joerg and Gareth. Welcome guys to KDLounge. We are joined by Gareth and Joerg. Hi guys, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Hey Alfonso, good to meet you.
So let's talk a bit about Timpi, which is the first decentralized search engine. So you guys are competing against a big one, right? Google. I would like you to start by saying, how do you think it's possible, like in 5 to 10 years, that people will stop saying, hey, let's Google it, and start saying, well, let's Timpi it?
Yeah, it's a good question. Shall I take that one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, they're already saying, let's Timpi it. So that trend has already started. But what we hope in 3 years' time even, that people will globally know who Timpi is and what Timpi is. We've got a few firsts under our belt. So as you said, we are genuinely the world's first decentralized search engine. Part of what that means is that we've actually built and developed our own search index. There are some other search engines, or they call them search engines. They're actually search engine aggregators on the blockchain, but they don't have their own index. And because we've got our own index and we've developed that, and it's all in-house, we're able to do quite a few special things, which we may come into more depth later. But we do things like cybersecurity rating in our search results, reviewers rating, all baked into the algorithm, so we can be genuinely different. We're also in a really great position with the blockchain market, where no one else is doing what we're doing. And we've almost got like a captive audience within the blockchain market. The philosophy of Timpi in terms of how we believe in the technology and decentralization is that same of blockchain users, okay? And so we're going to start off to compete with Google and the likes of Bing and the other people who have monopolies with the blockchain market. Of course, through our IDO, we will be touching and appealing to the blockchain users, but we are also going to be having special features that are related to blockchain. So we're going to have a crypto mode on the search engine, where we'll link in with CMC API and other data that's available on the blockchain to have a crypto-specific browser. So that's really interesting.
That's nice.
And yeah, it's very cool. So and we're actually having a lot of good feedback from the communities, like with great ideas about how that could look and how we can implement that. But I think the biggest thing to note is that, you know, Google has a monopoly. And so between Google and Bing, they're 95% of the market. Now, we only need to take a tiny fraction of that to be competitive within the market. Now, of course, we have our sights set on Google and Bing. Absolutely, we do. But even with a fraction market share, with a 0.025% market share, we are still a huge business, right? That would equate to an ad revenue of 45 million. and we can sustain ourselves at a third of that, right? So that is our first goal, to reach a 0.02% market share, but we are aiming for to be bigger than being within 3 years. What's their current market share, Joerg?
4 to 5%.
About 4 or 5%. Yeah.
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 Okay.
So
That's cool.
and their ad revenue with 4% is over 10 billion a year.
Yeah, we're talking another.
It's huge numbers, crazy numbers.
Absolutely.
And so the opportunities really here is like, it's not as if, we're not going to be a success if we don't become larger than Google, right?
Of course,
we're a success even if we're a tiny fraction of the market. We just have ambitions to be at that size, and we believe we can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, everyone thinks of Google, but you don't have to be as big as Google to be successful, obviously, because they have a huge share. And you guys can start little by little and eventually get there. So you went to the blockchain for the decentralization, and you chose Kadena to start with. Why was that decision made?
It was a natural choice for us. We're supporters of Kadena anyway, even before Timpi came about. But Timpi has a very ambitious growth strategy that involves being able to scale at a significant rate. And our decentralized model allows us to do that. So because of our own scalability and growth ambitions, we need a blockchain that can support that. And Kadena has focused on scalability and also cost of transactions as well. So we expect to have huge amounts of transactions per day. And so we need to be able to be on a platform that can do that cost effectively.
Those transactions you're talking about are like the rewarding for people running the collectors and the guardians?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. So for now...
So people will be rewarded for contributing to the network. In particular, collectors and guardians. Will also open up to GeoCore contributors in the future. So
how do you see it possible that eventually there will be more running on the blockchain, like info running on the blockchain, and not only the transactions for rewards? Do you have any plans to expand your scope inside the blockchain, and how do you run things?
Yes, yeah, for sure. So what we are going to store on the blockchain as well is transactional information. So when it comes to everything, so what we're storing on the blockchain is everything we want to keep and everything we want to keep secure as well. So it does not make sense to store the database of our index on the blockchain itself, because it's a very fast moving and fast changing world out there. So storing the whole internet on the blockchain would not make sense. However, what we want to store is who contributed what and when and how much. So we can always follow up. And if we look at a collector, for example, the collector is our crawling engine. And the collector would like to know that he can always go back and look into how many pages did I analyze, or my system analyze. And then I can always go back and check and so on. So that will be information that will be on the blockchain itself. So transactional information.
Okay, that makes sense. About decentralization, as far as I understand, your requirements are very low in terms of hardware, and you don't have like a requirement for an allocation of Timpi that you have to run a collector and node. How will you guarantee the decentralization that way? Like, what keeps someone from clogging and doing a lot of running a lot of collector and guardians, and basically controlling all the power from on the network?
Yeah. So that's basically controlled by our GeoCore, and it is limited by the GeoCore. So the collector is limited by how many systems the collector can run at the same time. So what we don't want is that, for example, a crypto farm picks up Timpi and runs on 60,000 nodes, runs the collector on it. That will not work. So that will not happen because that would make us too dependent. That's why the software is developed in this way. The software is really developed in a way that anyone can join and anyone can really run the collector on your normal computer. You have full control. You can say, or you can decide how much system resource the collector should use. And it starts at the very, very minimum level. And you can crank it up. You can even set up schedules, which allows you to say, okay, I will let my computer run overnight as well. So the collector can take from 11 p.m. to 6 o'clock in the morning all system resources, and you set up a schedule and the system does it on its own. So you don't have to do anything. We also have and as you said, it's very easy to install and has a very low entry. The only thing which you have to do is download the software, and that's it. You don't have to have a static IP address. You don't have to open any internet ports to the public for port forwarding and stuff like that, because we don't want to increase your risk in terms of your cybersecurity by just running our software. So you are completely hidden behind our geocore. Everything is encrypted and no one will know that you contribute.
And so anyone, even someone with zero crypto experience, can run your software, right?
Yeah. The only thing, of course, if you like to get or if you like to earn tokens, of course, you need to have a wallet. So that's the only requirement we have. You need to have a wallet, so you can get your tokens for your contribution. But you don't need to understand blockchain. You don't need to understand how it really works in detail. So it's very different to setting up a crypto node. For that matter, it's completely different to that, and which that allows us to have a very large network in a very short period of time, because there are not many, there are no requirements you have to fulfill really. So it's easier to join.
That's what I was thinking. Like, I can have my dad run a node, run a collector or a garden, because he doesn't need to understand what's going on behind the transactions. I can do it for him, and he'll just have the computer running the software. That's great.
We also said it can be installed on Windows, Mac OS, Linux, on a NAS. It runs on Docker. So it's very, very wide in terms of coverage of what OS we can support. So if you have a Mac somewhere standing around, install it on a Mac OS, no problem.
It's fine. Okay. You mentioned cybersecurity, and I know you work on Darkscope. How did that work influence what you guys are doing today?
Yeah, so I founded Darkscope a couple of years back, and developed the Darkscope artificial neural network. So that's basically a search engine for cyber intelligence. So Darkscope is a cyber intelligence provider who helps customers, businesses in this instance, to identify what is already out there in cyberspace that could harm or that could put the business at risk. So for that, Darkscope needed to have a vast network of crawlers on the internet, social media, dark web, and everywhere else. And that's what we created at Darkscope. And that was basically what sparked my idea of having a decentralized search engine. So the experience I gained from Darkscope, creating the AIs, creating the search network and the applications, that sparked my idea of, okay, we should have something like a decentralized, completely independent search engine.
Okay, nice to hear that you put all that together and are now going to Kadena to start this. Now, regarding revenue, you guys are, as I understand, offering Timpi tokens for people who run ads on the platform, correct? So you guys don't collect the data, and that's amazing. But how are you guys incentivizing companies who want to advertise? Since Google can say, well, we collect data, we know what users want to buy, so we will point you in the right direction. You guys won't do that, which is amazing. But how will you incentivize people to place their ads on the platform?
So we can do that in a number of ways. The first is by showing that we're cost effective. Now, Google have a bidding war against keywords, for example. And we won't have that. So keywords will be fixed price. So people don't need to compete by paying more and more for clicks for their adverts. What they will need to do is stake for that placement. So the more they stake, the greater the chances of their advert being shown. And then the advert cost will come from that staking, that staked amount. So what this means is that they still do compete, but they're competing on an amount that doesn't end up costing them more, because what they stake, they still own, right?
Yeah.
And there's obviously advantages for us the more that's staked. So because of the way blockchain is structured and the token is structured, that allows us to do that. Google can't do that with their economic model. That's for keyword staking. So that's for advertising that will be on the side of search results, for example, when you type in a search term. The other side of things is with the ad network. So Corey, go ahead, ask the question.
No, because you were saying on the side, so you won't have any inline advertising?
No, we are, with everything we're doing, we want to be user-friendly. So as you said earlier, we don't want to be using people's data. We don't want to be manipulating or faking the data in any way, or how that's represented. We don't want to be shoving adverts in line with the results, pretending that they're genuine results.
I hate that, man. I hate because you don't know what's a result and what's an ad, and it's awful.
We're not going to play any of those games. We were looking the other day around a search term computer, I think we were using, and there was only on the page, there was only one search result, and that was right at the bottom. All the other stuff was ads and images and junk and all kinds of things, but actual data. So if you take a look at our the concept, if it's more than a concept, it's in beta now. The beta release of the actual search, Joerg did a video of that the other week. Then it shows you real useful data, and it shows you those results in a concertinaed way as well, so that you won't get loads of search results in like a whole page just taking up a single domain. So if there's lots of results from a single domain, we'll concertina those up into just two. So there's all kinds of things we're doing, just with the user always in mind. How can we make better ethical choices? What's good for the user in this instance? And you'll see that through the technological design, the user interface design, our marketing, everything we do is user-centric. And going back to how we're going to appeal to advertisers, that's part of that appeal as well, because we're essentially an ethical choice. At the moment, advertisers really only have one choice, and that's Google. And so they don't have options. Does Google meet their brand ambitions? And I would say there's growing sentiment now in the market that businesses do not want to be operating with companies that might be making unethical decisions. Okay. Yeah. And Timpi will be making decisions in the way we run our business with the user in mind.
Great.
And so in terms of the keyword staking, we can compete for advertisers directly because we don't need users' data anyway for that. Where Google really abuses users' data is within their ad network, so that if you go to another website and you've just Googled for computer, then it will start showing you computers.
Yeah.
So we can't do that, and we never will do that because we don't have that user data. But what we can do is show adverts that are related to that website's content.
Of course, yeah.
And that's pretty good. I mean, that's 95% there and done in an ethical way.
Yeah, and exactly. That's the main part. It's like you are not using people as a product. You are actually showing people what they want to see, right? Having
Absolutely.
that, you touched on the user experience. Having that in mind, will you guys incorporate some of the popular features that Google has, like those tools for searching, and those filters that they have for searching on a certain time frame, or searching for images or something like that? Are you thinking about that part as well?
Yeah, so we are thinking about that, where we want to, of course, deliver a similar experience to what you already have on other search engines as well. So you will have the ability to do the picture search or the video search. As we are going to heavily use AI anyways, there are many ways how you can utilize AIs to help the user to to get better results, basically, and that's what we're also going to do. So yeah, our team is already starting training up the AIs as with the models we built ourselves, but it helps the user to find the right results, basically. Yeah, okay. And we will have filter and additional functionality.
Okay. What about the search engine optimization? Like if I build a website now, I write the HTML code with the Google search engine in mind. Like, oh, Google searches for this part of the code, and he puts this type of words first. You think a web page that does that will also have success on your search engine?
Not directly. So yes, we do, of course, we look into the meta header, so meta text on web pages. So what's your website description, and what's your title and stuff like that. But then if we look at the content, we do not count the words or the number of times you mention a word in your web page to get up in the rank. So that was back in the days, a way how you were able to get high in the rank. You have it 200 times on your web page, the keyword, and then so that doesn't work at all. What we do is, again, we use an AI model which analyzes the web page, and it sort of understands the content, and it can create a relation from the content to the search word. Imagine you have one of the models is, for example, it's a word vector model. Imagine you have the search word cat. So now the AI model will identify cat into a category and will find neighbors. And a neighbor of a cat might be dog, might be pet. So that's where it creates neighbors, and that can create a profile. And that's one of the mechanisms we use to identify how related is this web page to the search word or a search term. And then the other one is, of course, our user reviews and our cybersecurity rating. So if a web page has security issues, then we will show that in the search results, and we will let the user know in detail what is it we found on this website, but that is not wrong, that is not right. So it starts with SSL certificate, for example, or it starts with, or it goes to JavaScript libraries. Are they up to date? Because the biggest challenge we have, one of the biggest problems we have on web pages today, is that a lot of web pages are not maintained very well, even though it's not really a lot of work, but then it puts the user at risk. And that's what we don't want. So that's where we scan web pages and let the user know this page has issues. It doesn't mean that we filter it out. We just show the user, look, that's what's going on. You make the decision and you make the call.
You let
and that all falls into the rating system or into the ranking system. It falls all into there. We have about 20 indicators to rank a website at this stage. So that's 20 different points we look at to determine where would this page sit in the ranking when it comes to search words.
Okay, so it seems that your algorithm or your what's under the hood is like the secret sauce for your project, and like your architecture is dependent on people running the infrastructure, to say. So what really differentiates you and what makes it a good product is your code. How do you feel about open source code and sharing, or do you feel that would like blow you out of the water and let everyone do what you do?
It's a good question. We already we already talked about it. If we want to go open source at some point, and I think at some point it would probably make sense. We will certainly not do it right in the beginning, and the software is not there yet. So, but I think what we are going to start doing once we release the beta version is we do bug hunting. So we will have a bug hunting program where people can test our solution, and then if they find something great, you will get you will get something for it. So that will be one step in the direction. But I think so. Initially, we will not go open source at this stage.
Yeah, it's perfectly understandable. But you know, in the crypto space, people always focus on the. Of course, it's different because you are offering a product that it's not on the blockchain, so it's not the same kind of cyber security and risks. People usually have problems connecting their wallets to adapt that they have no way of knowing what's going on. So it's a bit different. So, I totally understand you can't give it all for now. Let's maybe try.
We may not be sharing the code at this stage, but we are sharing the index. Okay, so people can access our index by applying for an API license with us. And in that way, we're still making that data available. It's just the secret source, as you call it, will remain secret.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Maybe we can now wrap it up a bit. Like, what's the benefits for users, node operators, and not node, but collectors and guardians operators. Yeah, and advertisers. So a bit of a sum up of your project.
I think there's two sides to this, right? So I'll answer my side, Joerg, and then perhaps you can add in your bits. And the areas that I'm focusing on is around the advertising and utility of the token. So I'll start there. So when we look at the utility of the token, we are a fixed supply, so there's of 200 million, and we're not going to mint anymore. So this means that because we are sharing the token with collectors and guardians and geocore node runners, then that needs to come from somewhere, and that will be a share of the revenue. So all advertising and API licenses and any other revenue stream that comes through will be paid in Timpi, and then that's distributed back to the holders. Now, we're a flat token because we're a utility token, so there's no tax, there's no reflex going on. We're just a straight token focusing on delivering a quality product and service. And so what we do want to see is to create an environment that benefits token holders. And in addition to obviously being rewarded in the token, it's the fact that there's going to be huge demand for this token, not just through people who want to hold the token, but through organizations with large amounts of money who will be purchasing the tokens in order to advertise and stake. Okay, so when they stake, it means that the token is taken out of supply for that period. And so we anticipate that there's going to be huge amounts of staking, huge demand for our advertising platform, and with a fairly low fixed supply. This is all good for token holders.
Absolutely.
I think it's the feeling of being part of something really cool, something we haven't had at all. So the first decentralized search engine, and having the entry level very, very low means that we can engage a lot of people. People might just want to contribute to the whole idea of Timpi and don't have any experience in cryptocurrency. That's no problem. Or we have the guys who already run nodes, for example, and want to contribute and running the Guardian or even a geocore. So that's also possible. So I think we can really create a large network. And as I said, we showed that in our last video on the dev sneak peek that how the beta versions look like, and we will open up the public beta very soon. So there is an application phase for the public beta, because it will be limited in terms of how many guardians and how many collectors we will have for the beta phase. But yeah, so everyone is welcome to basically join us and go and see if and apply for open beta testing slot. That's no problem.
Awesome, amazing. Guys, to wrap it up, your IDO is almost here. How has been working with KDL, and what do you think of the future for yourselves and the partnership?
Yeah, I think the last, well, we've been working with KDL maybe for 2 months now. Could even be longer than that. And you guys have been amazing, very professional, organized. Yeah. You're obviously the first to be on Kadena, to go live with a launchpad on Kadena. You're their official partners. It's, you tick all the boxes really for a professional project like ourselves to be launching with. So yeah, thanks very much for all your help. And we're excited to get into the IDO. I'm sure you're going to be giving dates and on the IDO. Are we partners? Or
yeah, probably when people are watching this, they already know. So let's
probably.
So, but the sentiment is mutual. It's been amazing working with you guys, and I think the product is simply amazing, and we need it. We need decentralization. We need people like you guys to step in and try to change the paradigm. So I think we can wrap it up, and maybe in the future, like in 3-6 months, we can do this again and see where you guys are at, and talk again.
I think that'd be really great.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thanks a lot. See you.
Thank you.
Okay guys, that's it for our show today. A big thanks to Gareth and Joerg for a great interview. We will make sure to check on Timpi's progress in the future. Meanwhile, if you'd like to get involved, head on to KDLaunch.com and participate on their IDO. Registration and KYC are already open. Timpi's social media outlets will be on the description below. For our next episode, we will have Dan Keller, co-founder of Flux and Web3 Genius, on the show. If you've never seen Dan talk, don't miss out guys, you're in it for a great time. Until then, here's a project that might interest you that we found on the Kadena blockchain, NITEX. NITEX is an upcoming leverage trading DEX, backed by Chainlink, a decentralized Oracle price feed. It's on its early days, but I think it looks really promising. As always, do your own research. If you'd like to learn more about the project, we will drop links for their Medium and Telegram channels in the description below. Okay guys, see you next time for another interview, some more news on Kadena projects, and of course, as always, the latest on KDLounge. See ya!